And this is what I think a lot of times people don't realize. They're like, hey, I just want to talk about the business. We got to grow the business, then that'll help my family, help my business, my life. That's true. But it's also true that if you get really clear on your life vision, it really serves your business, because now you have greater purpose to your business. So my answer to you on how does my life vision help the business? It helps my why.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another awesome episode of the Life Inner Show podcast. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. On the Life Inner Show, we help people make more, work less, and live better. I am joined by Polish Peter. And, dude, we have an incredible guest on the line today.
Whoa. What is it? Wojo, tell us, please.
That was like Woodsy the Owl right there, man. So, dude, listen to this. We have the man, the myth, the legend, the CEO and co-founder of Keap, with the world's number one business automation software. Incredible guy. Has an incredible track record of success of building huge businesses with the caveat of doing it in a way that doesn't compromise life, right? And so he wrote this book. It's called Conquer the Chaos. We're going to talk about the book. We're going to talk about real life strategies, real life stuff, not fluffy stuff, of how you can actually have a life and a business at the same time, dude.
Yeah, and that's one of the most powerful messages for me, because I think it reiterates what we were talking about here. And, I think it comes from someone else, how important those keys are that he talks about. He's got 6 keys in this book, and we go through them on this particular call, and just notice which keys are first. What does he talk about first?
Mm-hmm.
And I just want you guys to really look at it. You share some really good strategies, some really good ways of creating habits, and, from perspective of business and life. And I love that the question that he said at the end of the conversation when we were wrapping this up. Can't wait to see you guys take this on.
This episode,
pick up.
Bro, this episode is gold. Let's just get into it right now. I can't even wait. Here is Clate Mask of Keap. Clay, what's up, man? Welcome to the Life Inner Show.
Jason, so great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm super excited. We spoke on your podcast recently, which, by the way, those of you who are listening to this are going to really enjoy that podcast as well. So go listen to it. It's Conquer the Chaos podcast. And this is something I'm really excited to talk about, Clay, because our audience is one of business owners, predominantly entrepreneurs, real estate investors, people who are interested in kind of paving their own path through life, and not just necessarily having a 9-to-5 where they feel like their freedoms and the control of the decisions they make is something that's compromised. And so we have a group of people here that are in business for themselves, but they also struggle with this thing called business ownership that can, as you know, as I know, Peter knows, can very quickly consume every part of your life and can lead to just constantly feeling like you're on a treadmill, like you can never catch up, like your hair is on fire constantly. And so is this, tell me about this experience for you. And to me, it feels like your book helps solve a lot of these issues and kind of reframes things in a way that people can really get a grasp on this thing called chaos that exists in our business.
Yeah. Well, you said, the book is Conquer the Chaos, the 6 keys to success for entrepreneurs. And the way I define success early in the book is balanced growth in your business and personal life that produces freedom. Because if you are just quote unquote successful in the business, but your life is a mess, or the business is crowded out all other interests in your life, that's not really success. And on the other hand, if you've got all the time in the world and all sorts of ways to enjoy that, but you aren't growing in your business and you're not feeling fulfilled in your business, that's gonna come to a bad end as well. And so it's balanced growth in the business and personal life. And I think your audience is very very attuned to that message. We want freedom. We want freedom that comes because we have good balanced growth in business and personal life. And the 6 keys to success are about that. 3 personal keys and 3 business keys for entrepreneurs to help them achieve that success.
So why do you think that so many business owners and entrepreneurs struggle with this concept of this balanced growth in both areas? Like, at least in my experience, it seems like, something about business is just so seductive and alluring, and people just dive in headfirst, almost without regard for the consequences. Like, do you see the same thing?
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's a few layers to that onion of why does it become so consuming for people. And one layer is kind of at the most basic level. It's the fact that there are not enough hours in the day to do everything that you need to do in a small business. There's just that's the reality is the more you do, the more you realize there's more you need to get done. And so if you start with the simple fact that there aren't enough hours in the day, then you can actually, if you can accept that, then you can actually start to win the game. But that's the first thing. The second thing is that most small businesses don't have the tools and the systems set up to be able to efficiently run the business. Now, if you get past those two things, then you start to get to some more sort of psychographic issues that face us as entrepreneurs. And those are the realities of, like you just called out, the fact that business is very alluring. It pulls us in. There's the fact that our ego is kind of tied up in the business, and we tend to equate our business with our own identity. We start to get some fears and some different, maybe imperfections that we have as human beings wrapped up into the business. And all of those matters of the ego make it difficult to have that balanced personal and business life. So there are a lot of reasons for it. I've experienced them. I've watched them with our customers. I've seen it over and over. It's the reason I wrote the book.
Why do you think it is that we're so drawn to business, and why don't we frame, and this is a hard question, man, as I think through it myself, and I don't know if there's an answer, like why don't we look at our personal lives as and success in our personal lives is an indicator of success? Like, hey, I'm the best, I'm a great husband or wife or, father or mother or the person, like, why do you feel like we do, like business is like becomes this thing for us versus the personal side?
Yeah. Well, part of it is just money.
Yeah.
Money just does stuff to people. And it's kind of a funny thing when we elevate the importance of money, then we're elevating with it the image we have of ourselves and what success means as it relates to money, and that's unfortunate. So that's part of it. But I think a lot of it is just that it's how society reinforces success around us all the time, and it's in all of the advertising, it's in the media and the entertainment that we see. It's sort of reinforced in every way, and the riches of life, as we well know when we take a step back, are not so much about money. But on the other hand, it's also very practical that, hey, some of those riches in life that we really enjoy do require some money. So we have, I love Joe Polish, a friend and longtime customer of ours. He says, money can't buy happiness, but it can buy a lot of fun. So sometimes it's hard to pull away from that because we love to have great experiences with our loved ones, our friends, our family, and money helps enable that. So, it's a tricky affair we have with money, but I think it's pretty clear that we most of the time get ourselves wrapped up too much in it, and it causes problems.
Right. That makes a lot of sense, man. So when you say balance growth in personal life and business, is this something that you envision as because when I hear balance, I think of like one of those like the old school like lawyer kind of scales where like someone's holding it and you got one side going up, one side going down.
Right.
Do you, when it comes to balance, is it that there are incremental changes in each of life and business and they kind of constantly go up, or is it like you go all in on business for a while until you start to see negative effects in your life, and then you focus on life, and then business goes down? Like how, or are they both? Are you kind of like pouring into both equally? Like is there one kind of way that to address this that is more practical and sustainable?
Yeah, definitely. It's that it's not that we pour everything into the business and then we get to the family or vice versa. That's the tendency that we all have. We tend to get blinders on, and we pour into the business until we realize, oh wait, that's causing a problem, and then we pour into, our relationships or health or, the other aspects of our life. But then the business is suffering. And so that's the imbalance that we need to address. And the way that we address it is we create a clear vision for our lives that has room for a great business and the other aspects of life. I break it into 5 areas in the book. And by the way, vision is the second key to success. Mindset is the first, but once you get your mindset right, then it comes to vision. And the vision is about getting your identity, your purpose, values, mission, and goals in place. If you do that, then you've got sort of a canvas for your life that you can be working on as you work the business. And the goals sort of feed your business, and then on the business side, you do something similar, and it feeds the personal side. But if you just stop and think about it and go, okay, well, that's great, Clay. You got your identity, purpose, values, mission, and goals, and that sort of sets the vision. But how does that actually create balance? Well, here's where this connects to the third key to success, and it's on the personal side, and that's the rhythm. So when you get a vision for your life, and then you have a rhythm of execution, that rhythm is about how you execute to those goals in your life vision. And the goals in the life vision break out into 5 areas, and this is where the balance lies. So the way that I define it for entrepreneurs, and by the way, I don't have any prescription that it has to be this way. It just needs to be some version of what I'm about to describe. And that is that when you look at your goals, you need goals in what I call them the 5 areas of life. And those areas are spiritual, physical, social, business, and financial. Most of the time, what happens for entrepreneurs is we put so much into business and financial that the physical, spiritual, and social really suffer. The relationships suffer, our health suffers, our soul suffers, who we actually long to become actually gets starved and neglected a little bit because the business takes so much. So I define those 5 areas, and in the book I describe why those 5 and not some others. Some people will say, well, what business and financial, isn't that the same thing? No. I've seen way too many good businesses where the business owner's financial life is a mess, and vice versa, where there's good finances, but the business is not working well. So you've got to have business goals and then financial goals, and those goals complement and work together with the physical, spiritual, and social goals. So when you get those 5 areas of life, and you put goals together in those 5 areas, and then you have a rhythm of how you execute to those goals, that's the way that we avoid getting out of balance. That's the way that we avoid getting so mired into one area of life or the other that causes us pain and frustration and regret.
So listen, I love what you're sharing here, because this message resonates with us, what you're talking about, because I find it interesting that in your 5 keys, the first one is mindset, and the second one is your life vision. You don't even talk about business yet, right? You're talking about life vision.
Right.
And the thing is, the whole thing is about conquering the chaos, like business and growing the business and things like that. And I have challenges from people coming to me like, you know what, that's all good and great, having your life vision, but how is this actually going to help me with my business?
Yeah.
Why do I need to talk about that? Why is that an issue? Like, I need to work on my business, right? So why is it that you have that life vision aspect before we even talk about business? Well, how is that helping with my business?
I'll tell you why. Because on a person's deathbed, they never wish they would have spent more time on their business.
Bingo.
That's why. It's what matters most, even though it's not usually what's most pressing. What presses on us the most is the business. And so, in the age-old Covey, 2x2 quadrant, you've got what's important and what's urgent. The business always seems to be urgent. But the life vision is actually the more important thing. And if we don't start with what's most important, then what we end up doing is we create a business that doesn't serve our life. And then you've got a quote-unquote successful business and an unhappy life and an unfulfilled life and a life that ends up with regret. And I'm trying to help entrepreneurs not go down that path because I've seen it way too many times.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really powerful thing because I'm looking, I think you have a picture behind you. Is that your family?
That is, yes.
It's a pretty big family, right? So, I mean, that is probably living that aspect of life, right? Um,
That's right.
how does that translate into your life? How does that help you grow your business?
And this is the great thing, and this is what I think a lot of times people don't realize. They do exactly what you said, Peter. They're like, hey, I just want to talk about the business. We got to grow the business, then that'll help my family, it'll help my business, my life. That's true. But it's also true that if you get really clear on your life vision, it really serves your business because now you have greater purpose to your business. So my answer to you on how does my life vision help the business? It helps my why, and every great personal development guru will tell you that when your why is clear, the what and the how get a lot easier. Right. So when we're really clear on our why personally, then that business purpose starts to become much easier. The business mission gets easier. And that's why I say the life vision needs to accommodate the business vision, and the business vision needs to serve the life vision. And they go together, but too often entrepreneurs, in almost every case, entrepreneurs charge down the business vision path and don't get the life vision part of it set first.
That makes a lot of sense, and I think, as you know, Clay, we talk about a lot about vision and things like that. And I think what most people miss is like when you have a vision for your personal life, now your business can complement your life rather than compete with it. Now you can have something that is more rewarding and fulfilling. You have a reason why you need to be successful because money in and of itself, like, it's great. It's fun. Like you said, it can do a lot, but it's not everything. And at some point, we've seen this, and I'm sure you have as well, is like at some point, another $10,000, $100,000 in your bank account really doesn't feel that different, but it's the pressing reason why you're even making that money to begin with that's gonna make the lasting change for the decisions you need to make in your business and like how you want to steer that ship.
Right.
When I hear about so you have the three keys for personal. We have mindset, we have vision, and we have rhythm. And so I kind of think of these, and please correct me if I misspeak here. The mindset is kind of the top of the mountain. This is kind of like from a top-down approach. Then we have the vision, which is kind of getting closer to ground level, and the rhythm is how you act. You mentioned this, how you execute. How do you really kind of implement the things that your mindset has allowed into your vision, and then your vision will take that into your habits, your actions, your choices, your decisions. Talk to me about what does rhythm mean? Is this a ritual? Is this some sort of way you structure your day? What does that look like for people? Like, how do they start to really make this change?
You hum every day, right? You go hum,
yes,
right?
So, some might do that. Yeah, it's a great question, and we got to remind ourselves that the rhythm is about executing the vision, which has these goals in the 5 areas of life: physical, spiritual, social, business, and financial. So the question then becomes, okay, well, what's our rhythm of execution to these goals? And just like we do in business, you take the goals and you take big goals and you break them down into smaller pieces. So the answer to your question, Jason, is you break down goals from lifetime down to 10-year goals, down to 3-year goals, down to 1-year goals. And then the rhythm of execution is really about how you execute during that year as you execute your goals. So what I break it down from a year down into a quarter, down into months, and then down into a month and into weeks and days. So I have a one-sheet worksheet that I use, and by the way, people can get it if they want to get it for free. It's on conquerthechaosbook.com, and it's just a way to take your goals and break them down. So I have think of that as 5 swim lanes: physical, spiritual, social, business, and financial. So if you've got a lane and then you go lifetime, 10-year, 3-year, 1-year, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. And you are literally every day, you are doing things that further your goals in those 5 areas. And it's a very intentional thing. And each week I fill out what I call my weekly winning worksheet. And it's just a sheet that helps me keep the big picture vision in my mind and the daily and weekly execution to this rhythm. So the rhythm is doing things daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually that help us in these 5 areas of life to achieve balanced growth.
So when you share this with people, or maybe feedback you've gotten on the book, it seems like it could feel overwhelming for somebody who's never done this.
Yes.
Where should somebody, is there a simple, now I'm not saying this is optimal or even like the best way to do it, but like, is there a way that someone can start? Like, what's 1 or 2 things that people can just start? Like if they're if they're starting from zero, like what would you recommend?
You're exactly right. It is overwhelming what I just described. Designing a beautiful life is not a simple thing that you sit down and do one afternoon.
Yeah.
What?
There's a lot. That's right.
Dude, we're in an instant gratification society. I want this now, man.
That's right. So it's very there's a lot to it, and I described this in the book. I said, look, don't get overwhelmed. This is something you just work on. And your question is perfect. And in the book I described the 3 transformative habits. These 3 transformative habits are they're basically the little bite-sized pieces of disciplined work that we do to design an extraordinary life as entrepreneurs. And those 3 transformative habits are the following. Number 1, wake up early. Number 2, plan your weeks. And number 3, do a quarterly retreat. I am confident that if anyone listening will incorporate those 3 habits into their life, they will completely transform the life and create the life of their dreams. But it's not simple. It's simple to say those things, but to actually develop the discipline to wake up early, to work on your plan, and then each week to design your week, and then each quarter, after 13 weeks of life, to evaluate how it went and plan the next 13 weeks in a quarterly retreat. Those are habits of champions. I've studied successful people. I've watched this over and over. And most of the time when you get down to what really makes people successful, they're doing some version of those 3 things. Wake up early, plan your weeks, and evaluate and design your quarters.
Can I dig in a little bit on those, man? I love, and by the way, Clate, like I love learning from you, man. You don't know this, but I look at you as a mentor of ways because you've accomplished amazing things. Unpack these for me. So waking up early, what does that mean? Is there a specific time you've seen work? Does it mean going to bed at a certain time? Does it mean a certain number of hours of sleep? Is it before the kids wake up? What does that look like for people?
2 a.m.
Yeah. What was that?
2 a.m.
2 a.m.
Wake up 2 a.m.
I used to say pretty clearly, wake up in the 5 a.m. hour. It's a magic hour. And I generally subscribe to that, and I do that myself. By the way, not on the weekends. I do it 5 days a week. On Saturday and Sunday, I sleep in a little bit more. But here's the real principle. The principle is get up before all of the noise and the distraction of the world hits you. Mm-hmm. That's the principle. The principle is to create solitude and quiet that you can. And so, by the way, you can wake up early and grab your phone and you just screwed it up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we have to add that caveat here.
No. That's right. It's waking up early and getting above the fray, getting away from the noise and the distraction. So I can't tell everybody what's the right time for them to wake up. If they've got a toddler that wakes up at 6 o'clock, then it's probably 5 o'clock. But generally, you want to get up an hour before the rest of the commotion of the day begins, because the secret to that hour is to feed your mind, body, and spirit. Exercise your mind, body, and spirit is maybe a better way to say it. And when you do that, when you exercise your mind, body, and spirit before the rest of the day, you've got to jump on everything. You've got to jump physically. You've got to jump spiritually and mentally. You've got to jump energetically. It's just a different thing, and it's what the most successful people do. They find, I gotta have a little time where I'm not bombarded by all of the normal things of life, where I can actually get my mind in a clear place. I can focus on my goals. I can be clear and confident about what I'm working on today. I can exercise my body so that it supports me through all the things I need to do. It just, it grounds you. So I do, the general point of wake up early is to exercise your mind, body, and spirit. And kind of my standard thing is 20 minutes for each of those. So you're taking an hour, but I usually break it up. There's actually 7 things that I typically do. And I vary them. I like to have, varieties of spice of life. So I like to mix things up. But generally my 7 things in the morning are pray, meditate, journal, plan my day, and, kind of check in on my goals. So there's planning and goals, and then reading scriptures and exercise. Those are the things that to me make a great morning and set me up for an outstanding day. And I do those things every day. I have a little different routine on the weekends, but I do those things. And here's the key thing. I have a version that lasts 2 hours. I have a version that lasts 90 minutes. I have a version that lasts 60 minutes. I have a version that lasts 30 minutes, and I have a version that lasts 10 minutes.
Wow.
And that's important because sometimes on the road, sometimes different things are happening. And the natural thing is, I don't have time to do that. No, you always have time for the 10-minute thing. And my identity is that I am the kind of person that does this. And so I do it no matter what, whichever version it is. And usually it's the 90-minute version in this stage of my life.
Got it,
so
man.
Would you say that one of the most important things in that is actually create the habit?
Yes.
Because you have these different versions, right?
Yep, that's right. But the habit, and that's why the transformative habit is wake up early. And I'm confident that if people will wake up early with the intentionality of feeding their mind, body, and spirit, the rest will take care of itself if they establish the habit. They'll start to hone it. They'll start to refine it. Seasons of life will change. They'll adjust it. But, I've been waking up early for years and years and years, and my morning rhythm will look a little different depending on what stage of life I'm in.
Got it. And then tracking your weekly goals, I think that makes sense, unless there's any nuances to that people need to be aware of.
And the big thing is, if you know the principle of habit stacking from Atomic Habits, the big thing is just stack on top of your morning routine 1 day a week, an extra 30 to 60 minutes for planning and designing the next week. You look back at the past, see how the week went, and you look forward to the next week and design and plan it. And, so that I'll do that on the weekend, and I'll either do it on Saturday or Sunday. And that just helps me to get the next week set. But it's a way of, that's why the 3 transformative habits are wake up early, plan your week, and do a quarterly retreat. But if I could only have one of the habits, it's wake up early, because everything else kind of builds off of that.
Gotcha. And the quarterly retreat is you just kind of doing a long-term kind of reflection and then maybe projections based on where you need to go from what you've accomplished. Is that essentially what it is?
Yeah, you start off by looking at the past 13 weeks, the past quarter of your life in the 5 areas of your goal, or the five areas of your life, and look at those goals, and you see how you did. And by the way, you check in on that each week as well. So you're not just like, I call it the big picture, and you've got kind of the big picture view of your life with its long-term goals tied to the short-term goals. And what I find is that a quarter of the year is the perfect chunk of time to evaluate how you're doing with respect to your days and weeks connecting up to the bigger picture of your life. It's a week's not enough, and a year is too long actually for the brain to stay connected to it. But a quarter can keep you grounded. And if you'll go do a retreat and get away from everything, I love to do this with my wife. We usually do it that way, where we have a fun thing that we go do. It might be, we go to Hawaii, or we go to Disney. We're kind of Disney fans, so we'll go to Disneyland, or sometimes it's just a staycation here in Scottsdale, Arizona or something. But we get away from everything and we evaluate our lives, and we look at our goals and how we're doing, and we co-create the next 13 weeks, that next quarter, and we do it in a way that connects up to the bigger picture.
Got it. So I love this because this gives people a really concrete tangible tactics and things they can do to make progress. Sometimes I feel like it's just people give advice and it's just too fluffy and too, this is like concrete that people can do. I have a weird question, man. Do you think it's easier or harder to grow personally or in business? And let me tell you what my thing, as you're talking, I'm thinking through this. I'm like, okay, so if my personal life is going great and I'm a great husband, I'm spending time with my kids, I'm working out as much as I want to, I'm eating healthy, my spiritual life is good. At some point, does that transition to maintenance, or do you feel like there's always something to improve? Versus for me, at least for business, I'm like, there's always a gazillion more things that I need to get better at. Do you think that's true, or is that just my experience maybe?
I definitely think that there's always something to improve in personal life. I mean, who we're becoming is never done.
Yeah.
We're just always working on becoming better and better. And, I think that that's the nature of life, and that's what we're up to. And I appreciate your point about sometimes, it looks really fuzzy or it looks really fluffy. Other times it looks very overwhelming and difficult to do. And I laid it out in the book, and I make no bones about the fact that it's a lot, and I say that in the book. I'm like, look, you're probably reading this going, holy crap, Clate, like this is a lot, but it's not something you do all at once. And that's why the 3 transformative habits are so important, because they truly will transform your life if you commit to them. And, and I've heard all the things that, well, I'm not a morning person. Then just grab a hold of the principle, which is get above the fray of life. You got to get above all that stuff for some time to feed your mind, body, and spirit. Get grounded in your goals. Get grounded in your life vision. Build confidence in your execution and what you're doing, and love your life. Like I love my mornings. I literally I'm in love with my mornings because I love who I'm being and who I'm becoming as I do that work every day. And I mix it up, and sometimes I'll get in a rut a little bit, and I'm like, I need to adjust this. I'm going to do a different form of journaling, or I'm going to do a different kind of meditation, or, pondering. I shake things up because we do tend to get in ruts at times. But man, I love that time in the morning. It is sacred to me. And I honor the fact that everybody's at different stages of in life, and has different things they can do in the morning. But don't lose the principle of feeding your mind, your body and your spirit in a way that enables you to live life intentionally, design it, and love your life, love what you're doing. Because when you do that, your business is going to be way more successful. And then as your business is more successful, your life is more fulfilling. I mean, it just becomes a virtuous cycle.
So I love that, man. And it makes a lot of sense. So talk to me at some point. Okay. So, all right, I got my routine down. I'm doing waking up early. I have my vision. I think I've wrapped my mindset around things, but there are also, to my understanding, and obviously this is accurate because you have 3 keys about business in the book. At some point, you have to run your business differently, perhaps than you have been in the past, and incorporate and employ some things that maybe you have overlooked or been hesitant to embrace. Can you talk about what some of those changes are?
Yeah, the business, these things go together. And, we've spent the bulk of our time talking about the personal keys to success because we're both so passionate about that. I'm also very passionate about building wildly successful businesses. And, I just don't want people to do that at the expense of their personal lives. And so when you look at the business keys to success, they are strategy, automation, and leadership. And what I find is if you don't get the strategy right, boy, you can do a lot of things spinning your wheels in the business, but it just doesn't get traction. And then what I consider to be the great game changer in business, and especially for small businesses, is automation. And then the last one is leadership, because as you grow the business, if you're not growing leaders and building your own leadership capabilities, then the business, you're going to be the bottleneck to the business, and it can't keep growing because your own leadership is holding it back. So of those 3 keys to success, I'm super passionate about all of them, but the one in particular that kind of answers your question of what you have to do differently, I believe, is automation. Because going back to our very first point, there aren't enough hours in the day to run the business. And most businesses don't have the tools and systems to grow the business in an efficient way. And so automation is the great game changer. It enables people to stop trading hours for dollars. It enables people to get more hours back in their day. It enables people to have a shot at a balanced business and a balanced life where you've got a great business, a great life. I know you're passionate about automation, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say that to me, automation is the great game changer in small business. And it's something that people are not, they're mostly just scratching the surface of it, maybe doing a little bit in marketing automation, but they're missing the game-changing opportunity to automate everything they can across their business to put more hours in their day.
Man, I cannot agree with you more. Automation has been transformative in everything I've done because, there's so many reasons for it. Number one, you're creating a stable foundation for your business, so something that runs constantly, whether or not you're there, your employees are there. It's done the exact same way every single time. You'll never find somebody to do those tasks to even close to the quality for a person. Automation is there 24/7. I mean, we can go on and on of the benefits of automation. And I think people miss this, and instead they end up doing most of the work themselves, burning themselves out, or even if they hire people, you're having people do things that automation could do for you way cheaper and probably better.
Right.
And so that's a real problem. How do people wrap their mind around this? And, similar to automation, like when we just talked about, starting off on this journey, it could seem intimidating at the start. I remember I was very intimidated by the thought of automation when I first was exposed to it. Would you similarly recommend someone maybe starts dipping their toe in the water with automation, and how would they do that? How would you recommend they start looking into automation?
Yeah, there's a couple ways. I think the way that most people get introduced to automation is through marketing automation, because it's kind of the beginning of the customer journey, and it's frankly where a lot of dollars get wasted and where the business either works or doesn't work, because you generate leads and then you convert them to customers or you don't. And so if you can automate that process of converting leads, it becomes very, very powerful, and people see that. They realize, I'm spending money, but I'm not getting the outcomes that, I'm not getting enough conversion. And so I want to put automation in. That becomes very natural. So that's a natural place to start. But if you stop and think about it, any process in your business, any checklist, workflow, SOP, standard operating procedure, anything like that can be automated. I like to say turn your SOPs into SAPs, standard automated procedures, because that's where you get so much more leverage in your business. And so whether you start with marketing automation or you start with an assessment of where all of the leaks of efficiency are in your business, because a business is a good business should be a closed loop system. But what happens is there's leaks all throughout the business, but we don't see them. And so what we do at Keap, of course, is we help people identify the leaks and plug the leaks with automation. And usually that starts with marketing and doing marketing automation, but it's sales automation, it's service automation, it's operations automation, it's automating the entire business. So most people are not really attuned to seeing the leaks in their business, but those leaks are bleeding them dry. And they start to feel it in the marketing place first when they begin spending money there, and it's not what they want, but it's all across their business. They don't realize they're spending time on payroll, they're spending time on collections, they're spending time on all of their internal processes, in their sales process, you name it. So if people are sitting there going, yeah, I probably have some leaks, I'd love to figure that out, we have a simple way they can do that. They can go to keap.com/playbook, and we will take them through a playbook, identify the top 3 leaks in their business, and show them, look, here's how you can plug those with automation. You can do it yourself. You can go get someone else to help you do it, or we'll be happy to help you do it as well. So that's Keap, KEAP.com/playbook for people that want to identify the leaks and fix those in their business. And you know what we do, and you've certainly been a practitioner of it as one of our hailed customers of the year from a couple of years ago.
Well, man, I'll tell you, I look at, I think of a visual of like just a leaking bucket. Like you go to the beach and you got this, you're pouring water in,
right?
It's energy, effort, money, all these resources, and then it's just leaking out, and it's leaking out because the solution isn't to pour more in, it's to plug the holes.
And yet everybody just pours more in.
Yeah, right. And so like, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but like, I'm a raving fan of Keap. That's what we use, Keap exclusively. And I can't say enough good things about what you guys do. And by the way, for anybody listening or watching, go to the resource that Clate mentioned. But I'll tell you, overall general education that you guys provide, Clate, is amazing. There's so much information and material to help people that you don't even have to, you don't have to be a customer. Like, just go there and learn, because they have so many valuable resources there for you guys to learn. So I'm very grateful for that myself.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the amazing work that you guys do at Life and Air. And I love the fact that we get to be a small part of it at Keap and help you to automate it.
Thanks,
so, Clate, I love the fact that you're talking about automation. I think you've been such a huge blessing to the businesses around the world when it comes to automation. I will tell you this. I'll be sold on this when you automate my gym time. If you can figure out how to automate my gym, so I don't have to go there, well, I'm sold. And I look more like him, just a little bit of muscle.
Yes,
I'm sold.
I wish there were a tool for that. That would be amazing.
All right, so listen, on the serious side of things, I have a couple of quick questions, last-minute questions, because I love what you talk about the book. The first keys are the personal, second keys are business. Would you say it would be a good idea for a CEO, because the last key is the CEO or the leadership? Would you say it's a good idea for a CEO to make sure or impart the wisdom onto their employees so they can follow the same framework as far as like the vision side?
Oh man,
you do that with your employees?
I wish they would do that. I try to teach that to our employees. You can't force it on people. It's like this is one of those things that you kind of have a desire to do it or you don't. And I love being around people that have a desire to do it. So I definitely commend it to CEOs and business owners to teach it to their people. But I think the best way to teach it is to just show it, do it, practice it, live it. I do a session with any employees that want to attend once a month where they come and we work on this stuff. We talk through it. But it's not easy to do this stuff. It does take a lot of discipline. And yet, what I tell people is that the real secret is you got to make it exciting, because discipline will lose every day of the week, but excitement will always win. And so if you eventually the discipline breaks down, but excitement, you can't beat that. So that's why I make sure that I love those 3 transformative habits. I love my morning, I call it my morning mastery time. I love that morning mastery time, and I love my weekly winning, and I love my quarterly retreats, and those things. When you love them, you do them. My dad taught me that when I was young. People do what they desire to do. They do what they want to do. So make it something you love to do, not something you dread doing, and then suddenly it becomes much more accomplishable.
Awesome, man. One last question I have for you. Earlier in the conversation, you mentioned about the whole thing about being on the deathbed. If I give you this bullhorn that you can speak to the humanity, right now, what would you say to them?
That's a really great question. I think what I would say is design the life you want and go after it. I think most of the time we find ourselves kind of living the life that just sort of happens to us instead of really designing it and going after it. And to me, that designing the life and living it intentionally, that's one of the fun things we get to do in this world. And especially as entrepreneurs, we can create such an amazing life. So I think my bullhorn message would be design your life and live it intentionally.
Love it. Clate, man, it's been a pleasure. Where do people find out more about you, about Keap, and where do they pick up the book?
Yeah, they can go to conquerthechaosbook.com.
Yep.
There's a bunch of resources on there, including the weekly winning worksheet that I described, kind of the big picture. There's some different, they're just free resources. I don't have any products or anything. They're just tools. And I also tell people, look, you can adapt it for whatever works for you. It's not like it has to be exactly the way I do it. I will say I've done this for years and years and years. I've spent a couple $1 million on coaches, consultants, programs, products, you name it. And I've adapted them and created my own version of it over time that just works for me. And I commend it to people, but they can do whatever works for them. So conquerthechaosbook.com for the book and resources, and then they can go to keap.com/playbook if they want to identify the leaks in their bucket and fix those things with automation.
Love it, man. Clate, thanks so much for being on the show. You're an inspiration, and you are a blessing to small business owners worldwide, my friend. Thanks for your time.
Hey, thanks, Jason. Great to be with you guys. So I love what you guys are doing at Life in Air, and glad we get to be a little part of that at Keap.
Dude, man, we are so aligned with Clate and his message in the book. I love it. Like, I love that we discussed the personal life first. I love that he talked about vision. He talked about mindset, right? Like, the mindset has to be the first thing. Then we have a vision. And then we have the rhythm, which he basically is the execution of this. Like, how do you actually make this happen in real life? And then we talked about business. Like, I mean, it's just such a powerful package to help people have both a life and a business they love.
Yeah, and it's, really cool ways of simplifying into like 6 steps. I mean, even just like at one point we talked about in the conversation about the overwhelm, right?
Yeah.
And that simplicity, because think about it this way. All those things they talk about, especially the first 3, the mindset, the vision and the rhythm are very simple. It's not rocket science. It's not like this is like, what, right? But they're not easy. They're not easy to incorporate into your life. So as you are going through it, like, at one point he said, listen, just take them one step at a time. And when you guys start to incorporate it into your life, you're going to start seeing the rhythm, and you're going to start seeing how it's more so in life. The morning routine was a great one. I love that one. The rhythm of it. And then obviously the automation, because if you start looking from that perspective in life, you can make some tremendous differences for yourself.
Well, dude, and that's the thing too, is like, none of this stuff happens overnight, but it starts with that first step. And so like, whatever it is, whether you're taking that first step in automation, or whether you're taking that first step with the vision or your goals, or each different, he talked about all these different things, just start, because this is truly, after we stopped recording, he's like, I'm not a fan of like the get rich quick schemes. I like the get rich slow approach. And that's what this is. And I can promise you, because there's so much overlap between what Clate is sharing and what Life in Air does. We know this works. It's been proven. We've seen it over and over and over again with thousands and thousands of people. You can absolutely have the business you want. You can absolutely have the life you want, and the business and the life that complement each other. And that just so you constantly level up in both areas. So don't feel like you have to choose. True success really encapsulates and combines both of those together. Listen, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you got something out of it. Please leave us a review, give us a rating, share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it, because together we're all on this journey to help other people have that life and the business they love. We'll see you next week, everyone. Take care.